Hi friends, it's Laura. Welcome back to my channel. It's time for another What Sold This Week video. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Laura and I sell women's vintage clothing online on sites like Etsy and eBay, sometimes Poshmark and Depop, and I also sell on Whatnot, which is a live auction platform. It's really cool. And as I typically do, I'm going to start off this video with what I sold on Whatnot. Now, I actually had a special edition Whatnot show this week. I normally go live every Thursday morning, but I was asked to participate in a raid train, which is basically like a group of sellers gets together and you all just do shows one after the other within the similar theme. And the theme for this particular one was a witchy raid train, which of course sounds fantastic. And I loved the sellers that were involved. And so I agreed to participate in it, but it did add some stress to my week. So I might be skipping my regularly scheduled Thursday show this week just to give myself a little bit of a break. This show happened on Sunday, October 12th. As I'm filming this, today is Tuesday. So I am dressed down and comfortably, but I did stay within the theme. I hope that you appreciate it. Let's get into what I sold. It was a smaller show for me. I only had 50 items available for sale. I normally do 100. And it was like an odd day / time for me. So I wasn't sure how that was going to go. It was a little bit slower than my normal shows are for me, but that was to be expected, I think. I sold a total of 13 items for $226 before fees. It comes out to $195.91 after fees. There were 13 buyers. I'm sorry, there were 7 buyers, one of whom was new to me. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't pick up some more new people in my show, but also I was really impressed that I had so many regular buyers come into my show. When you show up at like a different date and time, you're never really sure what to expect, you know? So, and I said I sold 13 items. Really, I sold 12 and then I had a giveaway item. So let's get into what I sold. First up is this really cute little pair of crochet gloves. I think these are adorable. I know they look like nothing right now, right? I picked these up at the Manic Panic estate sale. It was not an estate sale. They were like liquidating some of their vintage clothing inventory. And they had a whole bunch of these gloves that I think I picked up for like $1 per pair. I ended up dyeing a bunch of them fun colors. I did not dye this pair. Put it on real quick for you, but aren't they cool? I love those. So I sold these for $10. This is the only item that this buyer purchased. Now I got to try and take it off. Here we go. So that was very nice. I love these. I think they're so cool. I don't have a smaller bag, so they're going to get put into a bag that is much too large, but I can fix it later. So there we go. That's number 1. All right, let's see. Item number 2, buyer number 2. This is a repeat buyer for me who purchased 2 items. And first up is this vintage kind of crinoline skirt. So I forget where I picked this up. I feel like I might have thrifted it. Somebody has bleached it. I did not do this. It would have been all black originally. I am assuming these flowers would have been black. Maybe not. Maybe they were like burgundy or something. But somebody bleached it, which is why you've got this like cocoa color and it looks a little uneven and everything. And it's also why this down here is kind of like brownish. But I think this kind of stuff is really cool. Now, I did have to take this crinoline to my sewing class because it needed some repairs on the inside, but I managed to do it. I was so impressed with myself. And so this is going off to its new home. This sold for $20. I started the bidding on this at $20 and that's what it sold for. And for the rest of this video, if I don't specify that something got bid up, then you can assume that whatever it sold for is what I started the bidding at. That is somewhat normal for me during a Whatnot show. I never know how much detail to go in on some of this stuff when I explain about Whatnot and how a normal Whatnot show goes, because I don't want to be boring for my regular viewers. But if you're new here and you've never heard of Whatnot, you're like, what are you fucking talking about? Anyway, all right, so that was the first item, $20. The second item is this robe. So this robe, this vintage Asian style robe, I picked this up at a very recent estate sale. I'll just show you like the print. And I love, it's got all this like quilted detail and everything. It's so cool. I picked this up at the estate sale that was the, like the rock and roll art director and the Broadway show CEO person or something. I can't remember the Broadway person, but it was like an estate. They were both still alive and actually present at the event. But they had a bunch of cool stuff. Not very clothing heavy, though. I did pick up a few pieces. So I got this robe as one of them. I can't fold this on my table right now because guess who's laying on my table? Miss Rizbiz. Anyway, I picked this robe up there. I don't know if I paid $20 or $30 for this robe because most of the stuff I purchased there, I paid either $20 or $30 for. So I didn't really make money on this. I sold this for $30. But it fit in really nicely with the show. And I hoped it would sell for more, but it didn't, and that's okay. So I got other stuff from that estate sale that I am excited about and that I think will sell really well. So let's see. Let's get these into a nice bag. They're very plush items, so hopefully they will get in here neatly. Maybe. All of a sudden, I am very hungry, and that's unfortunate for me because I can't even tell you how many times I have made attempts to film this video today and been thwarted. Plus, I have to get this done so I can get it to the post office. All right. Next up is a new to me buyer who purchased one item. Really cute little top. This is just a black lace top, and it kind of comes right off the shoulder. What's really funny about this is if you're part of my little YouTube community posts, I posted recently about how my thrift store keeps like pricing up Carlisle stuff. And this was a Carlisle top that they did not price up. I mean, they're pricing like $25 and $30 for Carlisle pieces at the thrift store. And I tried looking them up and like stuff is not going for that much money. I mean, some of it is barely going for $25 and $30 on Etsy, let alone at the freaking thrift store. Anyway, whatever this, I don't remember what I paid for this, but it was not $25 or $30. The person who purchased it from me on Whatnot paid $15. So even purchasing from me on Whatnot, somebody still did not have to pay $30 for Carlisle. So this is the only item that this buyer purchased, but hopefully they will want to come back to my store in the future. Let's see. All right, let's get this in there. All right, next up is a repeat buyer for me who purchased one item. And, oh, here we go. They purchased this, which is like a 90s rayon dress. It's very pretty. I love this little like lace and bead detail. There's the tag. So this is marked size 18W. I estimated the sizing on this to be a 1 to 2X. And, I'm always a little bit nervous about plus size clothing because I don't feel like I have a very large audience for it. So I feel like I offer it up and it doesn't necessarily sell well, but I've been finding more of it lately. And obviously, I found someone. And this sold for $15. I bet you guessed that. I bet you guessed it. But this is really pretty. I thought it was a really nice gothic kind of color scheme. I like the dark purple roses against this sort of like pewter gray. All right, let's see. Get you all folded up pretty. Okay. Anything with shoulder pads is so hard to fold all the time because it's either like this skinny thing because you got the shoulder pads all folded in on top of each other, or it's like just as wide as if you didn't fold it at all. So, all right, can we get you in this bag without looking like I smooshed you? Kind of, almost, maybe. Maybe not. All right, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Next up is we're going to skip that one because that's a repeat buyer who purchased 5 items, but I'm going to do the other ones just to have them out of the way. Next up is a repeat buyer who purchased 1 item from me. And let me see. 39. This is someone who used to purchase from me a lot. And I haven't seen her in any of my shows recently, but also I'm at a weird time of day. So it could just be that because I was on a Sunday, but it was so nice to see her in my show. Hi. And this is a hand-dyed slip. So you can see it comes out kind of uneven when I dye things, but I always think that this kind of stuff is super fun. Like, look, it looks like a cloudy midnight sky, right? I think this kind of stuff is fun for like grungy, gothic, bohemian kind of looks. I think they're really fun. I have a few hand-dyed slips myself. Sometimes they come out really evenly, sometimes they don't. I'm sure there's things that I could learn about dyeing. My method of dyeing is I basically like wash the item, just regular wash. Then I throw it into a pot of boiling dye. I use Rit liquid dye in some boiling water, and I make sure there's enough room for it to like swish around in there. Right? And then I pull it out, rinse it in cold water, and let it dry. That is how I dye stuff. It's super complicated. But I'm sure there's things you can do. I always see things about like using dish detergent, and then there's like a setting, whatever. I've never done any of that crap. And I have pieces, like I said, that I've done and I've had for years. I've washed them a bajillion times. The dye doesn't like leach out of them. I don't know what all this like setting it with, I don't know, whatever, some kind of salt. I don't fucking know. I stick it in a pot, I rinse it out, and that's it, right? Anyway, sometimes it's even, sometimes it's not, and maybe it's because of the way I do it. Probably. Anyway, that was fun. That sold for $19. I started the bidding at $15 on that one, so that was super cute. I love vintage lingerie. I love dyeing it. It's so much fun. Next up, a repeat buyer who purchased 2 items from me. Number 1 is this one, which I love. I almost kept this, but then I didn't. This is a 90s dress, but it's very 40s inspired. It reminds me of like a 40s dressing gown. It's gorgeous. The colors are stunning. I wore this during one of my Whatnot shows, and therefore I wore it during one of my What Sold videos somewhat recently. But look at that print. It's so pretty. The cut on this is gorgeous. And this sold for $20, which I'm pretty sure is what I listed it for. So I was a little surprised it didn't get bid up. But again, I don't think that I had a huge number of people in the room at my show. When I wore this in my, like the one time I wore this for a Whatnot show, I got a lot of comments on it and compliments and everything because it's beautiful. The reason I didn't keep it is because I do have an actual 40s dressing gown with very similar coloring. So, you know, I figured. Also, I needed inventory for my witchy show. You would be surprised how many times I want to keep something, but I need to bulk up the inventory for a show. But I guess if I'm willing to get rid of it that easily, it wasn't like, because there's some stuff, it's like you could not pry out of my cold, dead hands. So apparently I was willing to part with this one. Anyway, really beautiful. So I thought it would go for a little bit more. It did not. And that's okay. It sold for $20, which is amazing. Let me get this folded up and then we'll get to the second item in this. That's crooked, but that's okay. When things have really full skirts, they're sometimes hard to fold evenly. All right, so the second item. Oh, I love this thing. This, wait, is it this one? Yes. This is a 50s dress. And it's like this chiffon, and these are all like gold roses. I'll show you. But it's also a larger dress. It is like an extra large, maybe a size 1X. So that was really fun to find. Look at those roses. I love it so much. And it's got like the metal zipper in the back. There's no tag on this. Whoop. Metal zipper. So cute. I cannot remember what I started the bidding at. I think I started the bidding on this at 25 and it sold for 32. So not a huge jump, but it's a nice profit. I know I did start it a little bit higher on purpose because it's amazing. It's amazing. And I also like to take these raid train shows as an opportunity to kind of put some inventory in there that is priced a little bit higher. It's very typical of me to start the majority of my pieces around $15. Sometimes on a normal show, I'll do like 20, but usually I start 15. And I've been very afraid to kind of bump up my start prices. Part of it is I feel like I do very well with my $15 starts. It's low enough that it's very appealing, high enough that I'm not like, you know, just doing this for free. But I would love to be able to start things at like 30, 40 bucks, right? Because the honest truth is that 50s dress, if I were listing that on Etsy, I'd be listing that, I mean, at the low end, I would be listing that at like $80, right? $79 including shipping, but probably more like $129, something like that. So, you know, it's a huge price difference, but also Whatnot does very well for me. So, all right, now I'm down to my final package. This is a repeat buyer who purchased a total of 5 items from me during the show. Actually, she purchased 4 items and then also won the giveaway. So it's a total of 5 pieces. So we're going to start with this blouse, which I freaking love. I purchased this at basically there was a vintage seller who was liquidating inventory. This was like a cream color, but it had like a pink blotch on the front, like a light pink, like it looks sort of color bleedy. This is really pretty. And so because it had that weird pink blotch, I dyed it. I love the color and the way it came out. It's like a very smoky lavender. And this sold for $20, which I'm pretty sure is what I started the bidding at. So I'm very excited. The buyer who purchased this from me also, like, I love her taste. A lot of times she's purchasing some of my favorite pieces. So to a degree, all of the pieces I offer, I love, obviously, because I wouldn't pick them up otherwise. But there's, a lot that are just sort of like, I'm always tempted to keep. And there's a handful of buyers who tend to select those things very regularly. Like the things that I want to keep, this particular buyer picks up frequently, as well as like a handful of others. So, okay, the second item, also one of my freaking favorite pieces. This is so cool. This is this like black fishnet kind of top. You cannot get a sense of how cool this is while it's hanging on a hanger because number one, you can't really see like the pattern and everything. It's got these great sleeves that kind of give you a bell sleeve look. And then it's got all these like little rhinestone looking things, which of course you're not seeing very well there either. This was so cool. This sold for $15, which is what I started the bidding at. It's another piece that like, fantasy me wanted to keep this. The reality is I wouldn't have kept this because it's just, I would not wear this frequently enough to justify keeping it. But if I were, this is going to sound weird, but if I were still working, I would probably keep this. I think it's such a great layering piece. So like over a camisole or something, but also like underneath a slip dress. Like I think it's so freaking cool. I just don't get dressed in real clothes enough to justify keeping this. So I'm very happy that it's going to the buyer that it's going to because she has such cute stuff. All right. The next item that this buyer purchased is this slip dress. This was also a hand dyed piece. You can see it came out, I was going to say more evenly, but it is still sort of like midnight cloudy sky, but it's so cool. It's very like haunted mansion, right? And I don't mean the Disney, which is a haunted mansion in general. Anyway, it's so cool, right? That lace and everything, really pretty. And this sold for $15. So let me get this one folded up. I love it. Anything that I dye, generally speaking, had something wrong with it. This particular one that I'm folding up now, I think it was white at one point in time, but when I got it, it was sort of gray, but not like a good gray. It was really, 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 almost like maybe somebody had washed it with something black. And it was just like sad. It was a sad gray. So the color that I used for this was, I think, called Pearl Gray. And I really like how it came out. That was really fun. I did not feel bad about dyeing that. And then this piece, which also sold for $15. This is actually beautiful. This is a little bit older. There's that hem. This is like 50s era, maybe 40s era. And this one was gorgeous, but like it had some like sort of very small breaks in the lace that I don't know if I'll be able to find here, but they were pretty minor. So I just felt like, it was a good opportunity to kind of dye it and let it live its best little grungy life. And this is the kind of stuff, like I was not a grunge person back in the day, but this is what I think of as being very like Courtney Love kind of grunge, that sold for $15, which I think I told you. I'm going to fold that up and then I will show you what the little giveaway item was, which I felt excited to do because it was very on par with the show theme as well. This is messy. Okay, there's that. And then the item that this buyer won for her giveaway is this little brooch, a little crescent moon with an amethyst. Now, I don't know that that's a real amethyst. It's a purple stone. And I don't think this is sterling silver. It's not marked with it. It's very artisan-y. It was a piece that my mother had purchased at some point, and she just didn't wear it, so she gave it to me to sell. My mother's not a cheap person. She doesn't necessarily buy things super low. Like this wouldn't be like a $10 thing from Claire's or something. She would have gotten this at some sort of artisan flea market stuff. So I know that it's beautiful quality. It's really nicely made. I just don't know what it's made of. Anyway, that's everything that I sold during that Whatnot show. So I'm going to go get these shipped off. You're going to hang tight and see what I sold. Maybe in my other Whatnot show, but probably not. And then on like Etsy, eBay, and all of that kind of stuff. So hold tight. All right. So as you can probably guess, I did not do my regularly scheduled Whatnot show this week. So I just had my Witchy Vintage show on Sunday, and then I took Thursday off. I really feel like I needed it. So I'm very glad that I did. And thankfully, Etsy and eBay have been pretty decent to me this week. So let's see what I sold there. Get into how everything went on those. And even Depop showed up this week. So I was very happy about that. So first up is this cute little dress that I sold on Etsy. It was listed for $59. The buyer did not use any kind of coupon or anything. I paid shipping because I do free shipping on Etsy. It's $6.17. So I made $52.83. That's only after shipping. It doesn't include, of course, like Etsy fees or cost of goods or any of that. It's just the sold price minus shipping. That's it. So it was a very cute little dress made by Maggie London, 100% linen. So very adorable. Yeah, so cute. All right, next on Etsy is this cute little bodysuit, like a stretchy 70s bodysuit. Here's the tag, underseen, so cute. And I had this listed for $49. The buyer did not use a coupon. Shipping was $7. The buyer purchased this on Monday, which was Columbus Day, and they wanted to know if they could have it by Friday. And so I was checking, like if I sent it via USPS, I couldn't ship it out until Tuesday. It was saying that it should get there by Friday, but USPS has been like not very true to their word. And I love them, but they've been, shipments have not always been arriving on time. So I was able to ship it via UPS, and which means that I drove to the fucking UPS to drop it off. But I was able to ship it via UPS for $7. So that's what we did. And that means that after shipping, I made $42 on this. So that was cute. Next up on Etsy is this vintage Victoria's Secret teddy, this sheer purple lace teddy. As you can see, I had it listed for $59. Look at the back of this thing. It's so ridiculous. Like, what were we doing to ourselves in the 90s? I know that probably some people are still doing this to themselves today. It looks so painful. You know that I don't like to call out my buyers, and by call out, I mean like I don't like to like announce who they were, but this one, I don't feel like I'm really being weird about it or anything. It was going to just address to Costume Shop. So of course I looked up the address, and it looks like it was going to Juilliard, which I just find absolutely fascinating. I don't know what they are doing with this, but I think it's awesome, right? I mean, I assume that they're using it as like, I don't know what they're doing with it. Like I was going to say as sort of like a template for something else. I don't know. No idea. Anyway, really cool. Sold for $59. Shipping on this was $4.46. So I made $54.54. Yay. Next up, also on Etsy, is this stretchy black lace dress. This had no tags in it, so I can't show you any tags, but just very 90s looking. This I listed at $79. The buyer did not use a coupon at all. Shipping was $6.47, so I made $72.53 on this dress. It's very cool. So Now we're going to move on to eBay. eBay, I made some decent sales, but a lot of them were like things where I took lower offers for stuff that I've just had for way too long. This pin, 21 is a restaurant in New York City. I cannot remember for the life of me if it's still a restaurant or if it was, but they're very expensive and exclusive and whatever. And every year at Christmas and stuff, they would put out like all these collectible kind of items like scarves and things. So I don't remember the story of this lapel pin. I mean, I got this at an estate sale, but I don't remember when I looked it up for comps if I knew what the story of it was. You can see that I had it priced at $79. That was a researched price. I definitely listed it on the higher end, but it was like a researched higher end. I didn't get a whole lot of interest in it after a while. I think within the first week, I got some like, one or two messages, not any real offers or anything, but so I had it sitting for a while, forgot that I had it. Somebody sent me an offer of $25, so I accepted it. I feel like that was a sold price back when I originally comped it, but also there were other prices that were like much higher. So, like I said, I feel like I researched it and it was reasonable, but on the high end for sure. So $25, more than happy with that. Buyer paid shipping on eBay, so I made $25 on this cute little pin. So next up, this is a scarf. I know this photo is like crazy town, but this scarf, it was so difficult to photograph this thing, and it was such a nice scarf. It really felt nice. It was such great quality. You can see I had it listed for $49.99. This is the scarf. So you can see like it's just not really showing the design very well in photos. It was so hard to photograph. So that's why that first photo was like a super close up, but even then it's so dark. But this was such a nice scarf. Anyway, let's see. There's a tag here somewhere. There we go. This listed for $49.99. The buyer sent me an offer of $18, which again, like very low, but I've had this for so long. And it's just one of those things. Like I was just like, yeah, please, let's get this out of my house. Thank you so much. So I accepted that. Buyer paid shipping. So I made $18 on this scarf. I do not know what I paid for this originally, but I've had it sitting around so long and I kind of don't care. So I was happy with the 18. Next up, also on eBay is this black stretch velvet bodysuit or catsuit. This was really cool. I kind of assume that maybe it's sold because we're getting up on Halloween, but who knows? I had it listed for $79 and the buyer sent me an offer for $60, which was a very reasonable offer. So I accepted that. Buyer paid shipping, so I made $60 on this. And this is a thing that I had up on Whatnot originally. So it's always fantastic when it sells for higher on eBay later. Let's see. Next up, also on eBay, is this really adorable little sweater. I probably had this on Whatnot also. I don't remember. As I had this listed for $59, as you can see. Look how cute this is. Here's the tags. The buyer sent me an offer of $45, which is, once again, delightfully acceptable. Buyer paid shipping, so I made $45 on this. And now we're going to move on to my friend Depop, who actually showed up for me this week, which was so nice, and showed up with me with a pretty good sale. This dress, this is a vintage Lanvin. I know it's probably not pronounced Lanvin. It's probably like Lanvin, something. It's French, right? I don't know how to pronounce it. I've probably had this up about 2 years. I think it was one of the first things that I listed through Vendu, and I've had Vendu for 2 years. So that's a horrifying thought on both counts. But really cute Southwestern print dress. And I would show you the tag, but I don't actually have the tag in the Depop listing. And which just is like, thank you, buyer, for having the faith in me, because like I forgot to rearrange the photos so that the tag was in the photos for this. Which I forget to do on Depop a lot. Anyway, I had it listed for $149. I was sending out automatic offers on Depop for a while. I just changed them. I used to do 25% and I just changed it to 20. I feel like I don't get really a lot of traction on it. So, it gives me a little more wiggle room if people want to negotiate. But I had sent out offers on this, and I think that the buyer just didn't accept the offer, but like sent me an offer later that matched the offers that I had been sending out. So they sent me an offer of $111.80, $111.80. Shipping on this was $7.45. I do free shipping on Depop. And so I made $104.35 on this. So that was pretty fantastic. I'm very excited about all of that. It was a nice little week of sales. And especially since I didn't have my regular Whatnot show this week, I am definitely appreciating the time that I've taken for myself. I didn't source Wednesday. I didn't do my show on Thursday. And I'm definitely feeling like a little more chill. I did go way down an obsessive rabbit hole today with visible mending, which I got like a kit of visible mending supplies. And so I just started playing with it last night. And then all morning today, I was like obsessively doing these jeans. And my hands are killing me because I decided to use jeans that I am, putting a patch material also of denim. So I'm like taking a needle and like shoving it through 2 layers of denim over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm going to give myself arthritis, but I'm having so much fun. And there's so many things that I want to do this with. So I've shifted my time wasting from like YouTube and phone games to visible mending. Better for sure, but I'm going to need to get to focusing on some regular listing, which I did a little bit of yesterday, but I'm going to have to focus on it some more seriously, and then get back into the swing of things with my regular weekly Whatnot show this Thursday. So I appreciate you watching this so much. I hope that you found the information useful. I hope that your own sales have been good this week, and I will see you again soon. Thank you so much.